Hi, I'm Joe, and this is my latest Bricklink Designer Program build, the Series 6 set, The Art Factory. I just got this 2 days ago, and I was so excited when I got it that I built it right away, and I can't wait to show this video to you because it has so many features to it that I really like and, again, have personal meaning to me. And this is going to be another situation like the shopping street where that was a set I wanted because it had a music store, and music is very important in my family. Well, this art factory here has areas that focus on different areas of art, including music and painting and photography. And as I've mentioned before, I have kids who play musical instruments in school. My wife is a music teacher, but not only that, she has become a very prolific painter in recent years. She developed an interest through those places where you can go to paint with an instructor just for fun, but she wanted to take it more seriously and actually started taking classes to become certified in the Bob Ross style of painting. And she achieved that, and she really enjoys it, and I think she does a great job with her painting. And so having a Lego build with a painting studio, I thought would be fantastic. And just as a little icing on the cake, my brother has been a photographer for most of his life, and there's even a little photo studio in here, and I'm excited to show you this whole build. I want to start off by just talking a little bit about the build and some of the observations I have of the overall model. I have to admit, while I was building, the type of building this made me think of was the Ghostbusters firehouse. Now, the original designer said that this is supposed to represent like an industrial building in a New York style city that's been repurposed as an art school. And it does definitely have that look, but it made me think of the Lego Ghostbusters firehouse just because the Ghostbusters firehouse has this huge footprint here that this is actually only a full base plate worth. When it's opened up like this, the building does fold shut and actually fits on a 32 by 32 footprint. When it's open like this, it's actually 16 by 64. The Ghostbusters firehouse is 32 by 48 and fully enclosed at that dimension. But you start off by building a largely gray base. In fact, this Art Factory set came with 31 bags, and the first 15 bags are just building up the first floor. And it's almost all gray. It kind of reminded me of building a Star Wars or Star Trek ship. But thankfully, it gets a lot better after that. Some other things that reminded me of the Ghostbusters firehouse are all these fire escapes here, which also appear on the firehouse. And you got the stoplight here and the sidewalks that have places for people to stand. And even this little arch here over the front door of the building is similar to the Ghostbusters firehouse. But this is definitely its own model. The warehouse look, I think, is definitely helped by using what I call these garage door elements here as windows. And that was an interesting technique as well, where these are not actually, clicked into anything. They're just kind of sandwiched between some pieces that only leave just enough width so that you can slide these in. And it works okay. It is kind of a pain to work around as you build because you have to kind of be really careful as you're building the bricks up in the middle of those pieces because you kind of have to wrap your fingers around everything to slide those in. Other than that, really, there were no actual problems with the build. You can tell that this definitely wasn't a regular official Lego set. I mean, first of all, it's digital instructions, and I actually had a lot easier time with the digital instructions on this particular model than I have the last couple of BDP models that I've done. But there are still some spots in the middle of the build, like where mid-build, the building is not very solid. Like, you have to build up all these walls here, and it's a lot of stacking studs not on top bricks on top of each other, and there's nothing to keep them from just wobbling back and forth, especially as you're pressing these on top. There's some other connections in the middle that, because of these windows, are a little bit harder to make, and they came apart easily, but they hold up just fine once you get everything else built up around it. Otherwise, I actually really enjoyed building this. I built it across 3 days from pretty much the day I got it until today, and I'm really happy with the model, and I'll go ahead and show you some of the details. Now, this is, like I said, it does fold up to be on a 32 by 32 base plate but it does not actually have a base plate, so it's actually got thicker plates underneath here. In fact, it's probably much more suitable towards being slotted in if you have Mills plates. I don't do that kind of thing, so I can't say that for sure. But a lot of the sidewalk here is very similar to Brick Esther's other BDP set, the Art of Chocolate, where you do a lot of building and then attaching sideways. That's how you get these brick pieces, these masonry brick pieces showing upright, although you still have plenty of stud nut on top bricks to place your minifigures, or you have some street lights here, or in this case, you've got a fire hydrant that probably shouldn't be on, and you can see where it's leaking, and you've got some plants and a sign. Now, of course, being a BDP set, there's no custom elements in this set. Every element and minifigure in this set is made of parts that LEGO already had in their catalog, but they do some custom stickers, and it looks like we've got an Art Factory sign for the door, and here for, I don't know, maybe it's listing what's going on at the Art Factory that day. And here you've got a little brick-built piece of art, and it says 20th century art, which tells me the designer may have been working on this for more than 26 years. And then up above here, you've got something that's, I'm guessing is Italian, and it's being hoisted up on this pulley. And in this case, it kind of makes me think of the shopping street, which also had the pulley above the furniture store. Here we got some more stickers on banners advertising that they're teaching ballet and music, and we will see where they do that on the inside. Now down here, you can see we've got a sewer grate or a storm drain, and you can see there's water coming out of it. And down here, what do you think we have here? Well, the designer actually did a little storytelling also, very similar again to the shopping street, and this is supposed to pull out relatively easily. Let me see if I can do it. Okay, it doesn't pull up like I thought it did. It actually pulls out because it's attached on Technic pins. And let's see if I can get my large fingers in there. There we go. And we can see, not only do we have a rat living under the sidewalk, the rat's living kind of luxuriously, as he's got his own sofa, and he's got a donut and some cheese. And there's a tunnel, and that leads to some more storytelling on the inside. And as we go around, we have a trash can, and you can see one of the art pieces, but that is actually another special feature that I'll show you when we look at the inside. Some more street lights. Looks like another bin, possibly a recycle bin, because we've got a bottle and a can here. And we've got the fire escapes that I mentioned earlier that remind me of the Ghostbusters firehouse. We've also got, we've got these garage door style windows here, but we also have a different style here in the middle. And I'm not sure if that's supposed to look like a specific building, but it doesn't necessarily look out of place. I kind of like these kind of windows better, but I mean, it works for this kind of building, especially since it's right in the middle and you've got two of the other kind on each side. We move around here and we have some more plants. We have another one of these signs that I'm guessing is showing what's going on at the Art Factory. And we have a traffic signal and a street sign. And the sign says we're at the corner of Brick Street. And, well, I guess the street that goes this way is one way. And we have the entrance to the elevator, which actually fully works. And there's just a hand crank here at the top. And the elevator is how everybody gets to each floor. So I really like this because not only is it fun to have an elevator, but you also don't have to waste space on the inside building stairwells. Then on the outside here, it looks like we've got some type of alarm bell. Again, that's another thing that the Ghostbusters firehouse had, which used cherries as the little mallet that strikes the bell. And the elevator, back to the elevator, it actually holds its place no matter whether you're raising or lowering. Although I have to admit that doing it one-handed, it is a little bit fragile. And I don't mean Italian. But now we'll get into the real reason I bought the set, which is the subject matter, which is all detailed on the inside. And I'll start on the first floor, which is more like just a general art gallery and is not really where anything is being taught, but is where people can see famous works of art. And this side here looks like we've got some type of sculpture and then some other type of artwork. And this piece here is actually printed. I'm not sure what that's from or what artwork that's supposed to represent. There are some parts to this first floor that are supposed to represent real works of art. Now, of course, you've probably seen the Golden Gate Bridge tile in other sets before. It appears in a lot of modular buildings, I believe. But back here, this is a custom sticker, the 4-panel style that Andy Warhol made popular, I think most famously with Marilyn Monroe. And then you've got another, I'm guessing this is supposed to be a sculpture. That's all drum lacquered gold pieces. And I don't know what it's supposed to represent, but I always like gold pieces. Then you've got this table here at the back, and I don't know if that's supposed to be representing, like, I don't know, some smaller pieces inside the glass table. I'm not really sure what that's supposed to be, but that's what's there. And otherwise, it's really kind of empty in here, although you have plenty of studs for your patrons to stand on while they're looking through the art. But there are some secrets here, and you can kind of see you've got this red, yellow, and blue panels there. And if we remove this, and I'm going to go ahead and remove the minifigure, we can pull this out and see there are some secrets inside. And what I believe that is are alternate artworks that you could display if you wanted to, and you have a place to store whatever you're not displaying. Now, these in particular, I don't think represent anything, or at least I don't know what they represent. I mean, you've got the balloon animal here, a banana, and looks like some kind of sculpture. Now, I'm not an art expert, but neither in viewing it, analyzing it, or creating it. So I have no idea what that's supposed to be. And then over here, you can probably guess we've got 2 more of these we can slide out. You can see where the sliders are, but you have to remove the other sculpture first. And in here, we actually have quite a few art pieces. These are all stickers. Now, this one is my favorite of the ones that were included. That is the Lego rendition of the Scream, except with a minifigure in place of the person. And I always love when they use minifigures to represent real pieces of art, famous pieces of art. Then we have what I think, if I had to guess, that this is supposed to represent a Jackson Pollock, just because it reminds me of his style, which involved, lots of splattering. At least that's what it looks like to me. And then you actually have a piece here that I believe is supposed to be the Lego Modern Art set that I know got such a wonderful reaction from so many people. Then you have this one here, which I looked and I could not figure out what that's supposed to be. And I don't even know if I'm holding it right side up, because it just looks like mouths. And maybe it means something to the original designer. Now, I did watch the designer's video that he made about this set, and it didn't mention anything about this particular piece. So I don't know what it is, but if you do, please leave a comment. I am interested to know what this is supposed to be. And then finally, what hidden artwork do we have over here? Well, we don't have any, because the mouse has stolen it. And the mouse even has his own little bed and nightstand with a lamp on it and some extra cheese for later. And that's part of the storytelling in this particular set. And I don't mind it. It didn't take up a whole lot of the build. I did kind of wonder why we had to build so many layers on the bottom here before we actually got to the floor. In fact, you've got a plate, a brick, a plate, a brick, and a plate. I mean, that's 3 bricks high before we actually got to the floor, but it does create a neat little solution for storing the extra pieces of art, because you have plenty of places you could swap these out in the gallery and display whatever you wanted. Moving up to the second floor, we'll start off with the room that I was definitely most interested in, which is the music room, which I wish was a little bit bigger. It does still have plenty of music references, but the whole room is pretty much dominated by this brick-built piano, which was a very interesting build and probably the most unique build of the entire set. And it had some very interesting build techniques, especially for reversing studs, that it used this little rod piece to kind of create a stud on top and bottom situation where you could come up with this interesting build. But one of the downsides of this particular build is that because of the stud on the side construction, it wasn't completely flat. So I had to be very careful when I was putting extra pieces onto it, because you've got this half plate overlip, or this half plate I don't know, where it's uneven, and you can't just press down on the table with that. And it did come apart on me a few times, but once I got the whole thing together, I think it was a really solid build. I'll go ahead and pull the figures out, and I'll go ahead and get the piano out and show you a little more closely. But first, I'll just show you that there are a few other instruments represented here. You've got the white guitar here, and a violin, and a string bass. You also have a printed tile with music notes up on the wall. And I'll go ahead and show you the elevator also has these printed tiles on the outside of it as you go in from all of the floors. And that just kind of makes it look a little more high-tech. But I'm always happy to get more musical instrument pieces because it always opens up the possibilities of anything more custom I would like to do if I want to build something more music themed. And I do have some hopes to do just that here in the near future. But we'll look closely at the piano. The only thing holding the piano in is that one jumper plate there in the back. And it just has one little leg that it goes in there. But inside the piano, we use these gold grill pieces for the strings. It's got a little microphone on the inside for recording or, I don't know, projecting. And it's got the nice little white lid propped up. The keys here represented by grill pieces. And I think it's a pretty nice little piano. You can see how we've got the inside of some curved pieces here. And that does look a little bit off, but I mean, I still think it's pretty imaginative build technique to get this shape in this scale. Then on the other half of the second floor, the room seems a little bit empty, but it is a ballet studio and you need room for your figures to move around. And you've got just enough studs here on the floor for them to stand. You've got the bar all along the side. You've got the speaker here. That's drum lacquered silver pieces there for the speaker. And you also have some maintenance going on here. And there's actually minifigures that are supposed to be maintenance people in this set. And I'll go through the minifigures here in a little bit. But otherwise, this is pretty much open space. And ballet is the one form of art that this set represents that's not really near and dear to my heart because we are not necessarily dancers, although my daughter is performing in indoor percussion for this winter. And even though she technically plays the cymbals, there is a lot more movement involved than there is actual playing of music. And up on the third floor, we have the photography studio where we have the photographer doing some still life photography with the plain white background and the other white panel there and the little umbrella thing for the flash, which I am familiar with because my brother uses this type of equipment. He prefers to do nature photography, but he has been doing photography pretty much ever since he was in high school of all kinds. And I know he has a lot of the studio equipment. And this is just a nice little representation of what a photo studio would look like. Then over here, we've got probably at least my next favorite part of the build. And I like that it takes up a lot of space. And this is the painting studio. And this is something my wife was very happy to see and thought it looked really neat, as it looks like we've got our painting instructor here with a palette. And we've got plenty of extra brushes and palettes everywhere and a couple of easels. And here along the window, there's lots of jars of paint. Now, my wife doesn't actually use paint from jars. Most of hers actually comes from tubes. So those might be just different kinds of paint. There's all kinds that you can paint with, and it's all a matter of personal preference. But I thought the easel builds, other than the piano, were probably the next most interesting. You see if I can show you on this. They're similar. They're not exactly the same. But they use these pieces here. This piece here, which usually is something you put on a minifigure to hold an accessory on its back or front. And they are attached to one of these round 1x4 pieces. And you've got a 1x1 stud, the kind of claw piece, and then I don't even know what to call these other pieces, but it makes for a pretty stable and I think realistic looking easel. Now the other easel, other than just being a little bit bigger and having a different white piece for the canvas on it, is pretty much built the same way too. And just to liven up the place, we've got some plants growing in the windowsill. And finally, we even have some space here on the rooftop. We have a different kind of door for getting out of the elevator up here. And I have to say, don't know if I made a mistake, but the elevator doesn't quite go all the way up to that door. Let me show you as I bring it all the way up here. It stops short, so you definitely have to watch your step as you get off or on the elevator. Let me see if I can open this. You can see it's not really easy to see there, but if you look here, you can see there's almost a full brick that you have to jump up to get from the elevator into the rooftop dining area, which is where the art factory may be hosting galas and fundraisers. And it looks like it's got a bar and some tables and glasses and bottles. And the other side of the roof is actually just windows so that it can add some natural light to the painting studio, which is another thing. My wife always appreciates natural light much more than artificial for painting or for anything in general. You just have to be careful with these windows because they're actually only attached on one side through stud on the side bricks here. These here are just to make it look symmetrical, but it's actually only attached over here. But it does let some more light in. A couple of other things that I didn't mention before are we just have a couple of other pieces that stick out. This hook and this place for the hook to clamp onto are to help hold the model closed as we close it up. And I haven't shown you how it looks closed up, but that's also because all these floors are supposed to be continuous here. You can see that there are like doorways here and here and here, but what would happen if we close this up? Well, those would all be open, but the designer has already thought of that. We have these panels here are meant to fold up, these on the first floor. Let me see if I can do this. I'm going to have to remove that person. But they are meant to fold up to close the gap. And I'll do that over here also. And that also closes up. Then on the second floor, it's the same concept, but just different mechanisms. This actually just uses a sliding window. And I've knocked the speaker over there. Oh, and the speaker's even plugged in. So that's good. But we slide the window shut there, and we slide the window shut here. And I put the speaker back. And we do the same thing on the third floor, which is not easy to do around this photo umbrella. And I'll put that back. I'll go ahead and close the model up and show you what it looks like. And it doesn't always close up cleanly. All these extra pieces here, I need to press down a little bit harder, but I can usually get it to close relatively easily. And there we have our 32 by 32 version of the art factory. And this would be the view of not necessarily the front door, but where you would go into the elevator. This is the part that is now closed up because of the panels and the windows that slide into place. And really, it doesn't look too bad from here on up. Down here, it definitely looks like the part you aren't expecting to see. And it would have a hard time slotting in next to another Mills plate because you've got this hinge piece here that sticks out. We turn it around this way, and I mean, that doesn't look too bad. That's just the side of the building. And here would be the actual front door. And I think it looks pretty good like that, where you've got the art sign and you've got the main entrance. And just like it has the clip for holding it closed, you've also got a bar sticking out here and a hook in here, or a clip in there, where when you open it up, those two attach to each other and hold it open. There are 10 minifigures included in this set. And like I said before, there's nothing exclusive about them, but I think it's a pretty great set of minifigures for this set. The first one here, this was supposed to be the art critic. That's what the designer said. I wasn't sure because the instructions have you build this figure holding a pizza. The next one here, I thought was just somebody who was in the gallery to see the art, but the designer said they're the bass player, so they would be playing the string bass, not like the rock and roll bass guitar. And here is the music teacher, I believe, and I think he looks more like one of the world's most famous conductors. I don't know if that's an accident or not. And here we've got, it looks like the ballet teacher and the ballet student. Of course, the ballet student is a kid with the shorter legs, and because they're doing ballet, she is having the bendable short legs, which I think is a good choice there. Here we have the photography expert, and then we have our painter with the paint palette and brush. And this person, the designer said, was supposed to be just a maintenance man, and that would explain why we've got the ladder here in the toolbox. I kind of had him as the piano tuner, and that's what I thought that extra little bit was under the piano that had the microphone on it. But, I mean, I can imagine it to be whatever I want, right? And then finally, we have the designer said this was a security person. I had them posted outside the traffic light to make sure nobody is violating any traffic laws. And here we have the waiter from the rooftop party area. And because I can, I went ahead and installed lights in this set just because I think I'm going to have this on display for quite a while, and everything looks better with lights in it. And mostly it's just white lights on the inside to shine through the windows, but I also added some lights here on the outside where the pavement level lights were. And please forgive my wire management. I know it's atrocious. And from a distance, I can't usually see it, but I may do some more work later to kind of try and clean that up. Here on the side, we've got another light I meant to show earlier. And this is kind of a neat little concept where you've got two lights hanging over the doorway, but you also have one to shine on the 20th century art sign. And I didn't put lights in one of the more obvious places, which would be the stoplight here, because again, you just have wires hanging out everywhere, and I don't necessarily want them all on at the same time. But so maybe that's a missed opportunity, but I just decided not to do that. I did put one light here at the top of the elevator shaft. I don't know how well that's going to show in the dark. I'll see if I can show that here in a minute. And I also put some multicolor lights here in the party area just to give it more of a festive atmosphere. And usually I only use my multicolor lights for Christmas builds, but I did use them in my Club XI video. And I thought that made the place look like it was a little more active. And I think it does the same thing on this rooftop area too. And here it is lit up when it's closed up, if you were interested in that kind of thing. And you still get all the lights shining through. I did not bother to close the panels and windows on this side because I am going to leave it open for display. I think one of the other neat things is you can actually see pretty well into the painting studio from the top also. And from this side, it looks all right. I mean, you've got the light there on the window, the light in the door, and finally, this view is pretty good too, especially you can see the party lights going on up there and the light in the elevator shaft and down here on the first floor. In case you wondered what this looked like next to the shopping street, here I've got them both close together, and while it does seem to make logical sense that the music store would be right next to the art factory, I think the difference in artistic styles is just too much, and they really do not look right together that way. Also, this is not really the best side to show the art factory. I'd rather see the front door. Now, I think this way is definitely a better look, at least for the art factory, because you've got the front door here to the elevator. And something I forgot to point out is it actually has a ramp as part of the studs on the side construction here. I thought that was a neat little feature. And as long as you use this as a corner building, you've got access here to the main front door with the sign with the lights. And I think it does match a little bit better architecturally with the furniture store side of the shopping street, but not really. And you can see what I mean about the difference in plate height here, where this is built up so high and you would need to jump down to this level, or even building this on a mill's plate would only raise it up to about here. But I'm not building a city, and I will probably display these on the same shelf, but not in this configuration, probably just apart from each other. And here's what it looks like with the lights on in a room that's pretty much completely dark. And you definitely see the bright lights through the windows. You've got the party going on at the top. You even see the elevator shaft a little bit. And you've got the spotlights here working as intended. Thank you for watching my video about the Art Factory. I hope you enjoyed my look at this Bricklink Designer Program Series 6 set. I know I really enjoyed building it. and I really like how it turned out, and I will proudly put this on my main Lego display shelf. It will share shelf space with the shopping street, with the music store, and I hope in the near future to do another music build, or at least music related, that I can display with it. And of course, I'll make a video about that to show it to you. And of course, I still have all the other video projects I want to do this year. And I just have so much to build, and I'm really excited to do that and to show them off for you. And I hope you'll come back when those videos are ready. But until then, remember, today is a good day to build. And here is a bonus. I just want to show off some more of my wife's paintings. I think she does incredible work, and I hope you enjoy this brief little montage set to some of my daughter's saxophone playing.